Be advised, you are coming in weak and unreadable.
Say again, Com Tower. This is Pacho. Do you read me over?
Pacho, this is Com Tower. I read you Lima Charlie.
Com Tower, Com Tower. Request permission to launch and commence the field op. Over.
Stand by. Pacho, permission granted. I say again, permission granted.
Roger that. Launching podcast in 3, 2. You are now entering the field op with your host, Pacho Correa, Chief Warrant Officer 3, United States Marine Corps retired. Get some. Hurrah! Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another week of the field op. Baby Friday is here. Friday Night's Eve, as I also like to call it, but goddamn, it's almost the weekend. How's everybody doing? I hope you had an amazing week. I hope you've been crushing it. In the line of work that I do, it's end of the month, so it tends to be a little bit hectic, towards the end of the month because we're trying to help families and do many other things. That's right, because we want to, us and the team, we're trying to finish the month with a bang. But nonetheless, that is not your issue. It's pretty much ours. So we got an amazing show for you. So let's get all the pleasantries out of the way. Hey, if you want to take your social media game to the next level, I highly suggest that you try Nowsite AI. So it's one of our affiliates right there on the show description. Please go ahead and check it out. I mean, this thing will do anything and everything to help you take your social media game. So if you're somebody who's trying to brand themselves out, like yours truly right over here, or you're somebody who wants to be is aspiring to be an influencer or something like that, I highly recommend that you try Nowsite AI. Go on there, use our link. And try it on a month-to-month basis. That's what I've been doing. I've been playing with it on a month-to-month basis. And just in the short time frame that I've been using this thing, man, it's taking my posts and my followings and all that thing to the next level. So I mean, this thing does everything. If for time management purposes, I mean, in the mornings right after I PT and exercise, I mean, I'm pretty much done in about 10, 15 minutes. It creates the post. It even generates the photos. It'll caption whatever photos or videos that you have. I mean, this thing it'll damn near do anything. So if you need help with that, you got any questions, feel free to, send me some DMs on our show's messenger, and I'll be more than glad to get you all knocked out. Okay. So, all right, then this show is also brought to you by the VA. Hey, look, the VA, a lot of people here may say that, because everybody has an opinion about the VA, but nonetheless, I mean, this show the VA, it is one of our advocates. The system is not perfect, but I highly recommend that you do your due diligence and be able to just, apply for your claims, apply and then, get your compensation going. As a matter of fact, today I was helping a veteran at other different programs like this. I talked about on my previous show about the survivor benefit plan. I just assisted them. And he's a friend and he's been on the show as well. I assisted another fellow veteran from when I used to work with corporate. So if you have any questions, I mean, at the end of the day, if you have any questions about navigating the VA system, navigating the claims and all that stuff, I'll be more than glad to help you out. My schedule is a little bit hectic, so we can set up a Zoom call. We will share screens. I'll guide you through it. But at the end of the day, look, folks, you got to do your own due diligence and be able to just and file for a claim. You don't want to go many, many years, which is fine. It's just it gets a little bit more complicated and a little bit more challenging when you're trying to get your claims going through the VA. Again, like I said earlier, the system is not perfect. However, it is a good tool if you get educated, because at the end of the day, it's on you to learn to talk their language and be able to just, you'll do yourself justice by being a little bit more educated and learn on how to navigate and tread those waters. I mean, that's all I got to say on that. And I can help you with that if you want me to help you. All right. So, All right, we gotta look. And this show wouldn't be here today if we weren't here. If we didn't have the great things that the great American Constitution provides us, like freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, to vote, regardless. On the last statement, regardless, wherever you sit at, whatever, and we can sit here and talk all kind. Doesn't really matter. But I mean, this is by far one of the best. And I've traveled my butt off since I've been in the service and on my own personal time. But I'm here to tell you that there is no better country than the United States and the freedoms that it provides. I guarantee it. So what I'm saying is, look, we're here and we got to support our Constitution, support our nation, and let's come to, let's be one, because we're totally divided. So if you like this show and you support freedom of speech or not, that's okay too. Like, subscribe, and follow. Tell your friends. Let's build this show to a network, because this is all it is. And if you want to be a part of the show, you got a voice, you got a story to tell, you got a business you want to talk about as a veteran, and you help out others, then by all means, hit me up. I would love to have you on the show, and I would love to be your platform for you to tell me your story. Okay. And if not, then I highly recommend that you hit Brian Coburn and the folks at Sitchradio. If you want to have your own show and you want to do this, with this, from home, or you need assistance from Brian to take your social media game, among other things, man, I highly give Brian a call. Okay, hit him up. It's the link is all right there on the show description. Please go ahead and check it out. All right, so I think we got all the pleasantries out of the way. So let's dive a little bit into what I wanted to talk today, to talk to you, my fellow followers, about a little bit. So we have, as I've looked, sometimes just kind of sit here, in between, me helping clients and such, I kind of analyze. I'm like, man, we get sometimes we could go down this rabbit hole. Is like, not only this, but I had a conversation too with somebody. With somebody that's, very close to me. And now we were both talking, and we tend sometimes, like, man, I'm not there because I'm not there where I need to be financially, and as well as what's the other word, success wise. I look at my friends because so and so is man, he's crushing it. He's making big moves. He's a millionaire. So on, and all this and that, and but we fail to sometimes kind of take a step back and look at the bigger picture. I mean, as I've gotten, I'm not gonna say older, but as I've gotten wiser, I've learned to look at other things. I guess what is and we'll talk later about success and everything, but as I've gotten older, my definition of success has kind of changed quite a bit. When we're younger, I think, when we're younger, we join for me, I joined the military, or we're teenagers and we're going to school and we got these dreams and things that we're going to accomplish. Man, I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to be a rock star. And by all means, yeah, if you are, and I'm 100% sure that anybody and anyone can achieve their goals, if they want to. Obviously, if they also have the talent too. So the best example I could use is the Olympics with the whole breakdancing. I mean, I know we've seen the memes and stuff, but at the end of the day, if you don't got the talent in that aspect, hey, no, maybe not breakdancing, maybe something else. But either way, I mean, you can achieve whatever it is that you want. So when we're younger, we have these expectations. I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that. When I first came in, I was like, man, I'm going to be, I thought I wanted to be a senior enlisted person. Like I wanted to be a sergeant major, which, yes, I mean, I was doing my P's, doing my part. But then it changed for me. And my goals change because people, your goals change and they'll shift. And they shifted. Well, I am going to be an officer. Not I think. I mean, I was, because I started moving forward on that. So we have this, where we want to, we're here and we want to get there, and how do we get there? And we come up with this action plan. Like, I was like, okay, well, I know I wanted to be an officer at first, and then as I kind of striving towards that goal, it's like, okay, do I want to be, in my case, again, an unrestricted officer, and that's lieutenant, captain, major, colonel, all that stuff. However, as I moved on through the ranks and exposure to other people and other things, then I was more like, I really want to be more of a subject matter expert, and I use that term very loosely because there's, not everybody's gonna trust me on that, and I just leave it as that. But not everybody, not everybody, knows their stuff. So but me, I wanted, I was like, what? I was shaped and molded by some of these awesome maintenance officers that I am going to be a warrant officer. That was my path. That's what I chose. So I was moving forward in that, and so I applied for it. And then the first year got denied, and I was like, okay. And they don't tell you why you got denied. They just, hey, you didn't make it this year. So obviously, if you have a mentor or somebody that can kind of guide you, and they'll look at your books, your record book, and say, hey, what, do you have any range? Are you, do you have any, what is it, that background and experience that you have in order to make you more competitive when you go up against your other peers in that field, and when that person that's sitting up in headquarters Marine Corps, whatever. When they're looking at your books, and are you competitive enough? What have you done to, make yourself stand out, right? And that's with life in general, right? Second year, I applied for it, and boom, denied again. I didn't make it. The list came out, and I was like, third year, again, I'm putting in for this packet, nada, didn't make it either. And, you kind of get to a point where it's like, man, what is it that I'm doing wrong that, I'm not making it, right? And you kind of start like tallying up, and along other things, then you're, as I was doing all that, I started going to school, going to college, and all these other things, right? Excuse me. And I apply again, fourth time, didn't, and by this time I was already part of. Again, I'm just using me as an example. And by this time, I was already permanent personnel at a reserve duty station, which I thought it was a great experience, having to work with some amazing people, our reserve counterparts. And let me tell you something. I know we us active duty folks kind of bag sometimes on reserve personnel. Hey, there's some amazing people, and they bring a different level of thought process to problems and issues as a whole when it comes to to the Marine Corps, and especially me being a maintenance person. So they bring in like this different type of what can I say? They bring this different type of mentality and thought process and problem solving, which I thought was amazing. And that came when we took this entire unit to Iraq. I mean, it was really cool and neat, just having, watching these folks, whip it on and do a lot of cool stuff when we're out in missions, driving around town all over Iraq. So again, shout out to our reserve counterparts as well. But, I'm going to school and I'm doing all these things that I thought would make me separate, but, nothing. So by that time, I'm pretty much, the Marine Corps also tells you, hey, you got to give back some, to the Marine Corps. So you could be a drill instructor or a recruiter. Yes, there is, there is this thought process or this gray area where thinking, oh, just because you're an INI, inspector, you're permanent personnel at a reserve duty station, that you have fulfilled this requirement with the Marine Corps. And that is not, that's far from the truth. It is seen really good because you're part of, this command and helping these reserves, and it looks really good MOS wise that you have a lot of experience because you're the only one full-time active duty sometimes, or even at times, you may have a counterpart, like I was lucky enough that I had one. But nonetheless, it may look good like that, but at the end of the day, it is not it's not a B, what they call a B billet. It's either drill instructor or recruiting duty, or if you go, Marine security guard and you're guarding an embassy somewhere in the world. I mean, that is it. Anyway, so I was at doing this, and then from there, when I was over there at this reserve unit, I said, you know what, I'm going to go to be a recruiter. I think this would be really good for me because I'm looking ahead when I get out of service. So, long story short, folks, I went out and I submitted a package. As a matter of fact, I didn't want. This is going on from my fourth to fifth time. I didn't want to. And I've told the story before. So I've told the story before, and I hope the guy that I'm talking about, he's watching the show right now. Anyways, not on purpose, but I just kind of half-assed this package for me to become an officer, because I was kind of really butthurt. At the end of the day, I had this chip on my shoulder, like, oh man, I'm the best, and they didn't select me, so they can keep it. Again, you're kind of like being a little kid throwing a temper tantrum. Anyways, I get this call from Afghanistan. It's my buddy Scott, Matt Max, who's in the hopefully he's been on the show, and hopefully he's listening or watching. Anyways, he's like, he goes, hey Hoochie, it's Scott. Are you putting a package this board? And I'm like, no sir. Again, he was an officer already. I was still enlisted. No sir, I'm not doing that. I'm going to be a recruiter. I'm going to give back to the Marine Corps and blah, 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 oorah, oorah, bark, bark, woof, woof, get some. So, anyways, what happens is basically he's like, okay, interesting, whatever. This dude calls my executive officer, my XO, Stephen Hodge. God bless him wherever he is. He's probably, somewhere here on the East Coast. He calls this dude Stephen Hodge, and then the XO calls me to his office, and he was like, hey, Staff Sergeant, how? I'm like, hey, what's going on, sir? He goes, hey, are you submitting a package? I'm like, no, not at all. I'm going to be recruited. Long story short, he's like, well, you are submitting a package. And I was so mad about it that I went ahead and I half-assed I didn't put all the effort that I did. I half-assed that package and I submitted it. And then I went to be a recruiter. I went to recruiting school. I was doing my things. And, the weirdest thing is that when I was in recruiting school, I kept getting called for all this paperwork, because since I was part of, to some degree, to the reserve component, my package went through 4th Marine Division in right here in New Orleans. That's where the reserve headquarters component happens to be. So they're asking me, hey, we need this, we need that. I'm like, look, I'm in recruiting duty, man. Leave me the heck alone, blah, 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 whatever. So, but I submitted the paperwork because, that's what I'm thinking, or that's what I wanted to say to these people. But I'm like, okay, here's your paperwork. Anyways, and I forgot about it. I became a recruiter, and shout out to my boy David Valentin. He's a fellow, not only a fellow Moto T guy, by far one of the best record operators that I've ever come across, but also this dude right here, he also went to recruiting duty after we, him and I met at another command. But anyways, what's up, Dave? So, I'm here. So I'm in recruiting duty. I'm thinking I'm the shit, ¿qué pasa? I'm here moving and shaking all over San Diego, shaking hand, kissing babies, oorah, bark, bark, you want to be a Marine? No, next. I'm doing this whole, I'm doing this thing. I'm thinking, I'm it. And I mean, I thought I was the shit driving around the green monster van. I mean, I had the the E350 van, and man, I'm pimping, and I'm recruiting left and right? Anyways, lo and behold, this is like almost a year into being a recruiter, I get selected to be a warrant officer. And although I was very happy, it was kind of bittersweet, because that year there was a lot of, I lost both my dad and my grandfather due to, due to a tragic murder. Not trying to put a grim on the show. I mean, I'm good with it. I mean, just saying that a lot of things have happened in that year. My son had to have some major serious surgery to the point that he had to, learn how to walk all over again. I mean, his spinal nervous system had to be fixed, and a bunch of stuff. A bunch of stuff that happened that year. It was an interesting. 2006 was a very interesting friggin' year, and I got fucking selected. That was the thing. So as I was thinking back to all these things, success at the end of the day is what I'm trying to get at, folks. Is that success is not this linear line that we tend to see. That Jesus Christ, I want to be. I'm doing everything. I'm hitting it. I'm killing it. I'm breaking my back, and I'm doing all these things. In my case, I don't get selected, or wherever you're at in life, I'm just trying to do the right thing, and I'm this and that, and nothing happens, and then you get in this kind of me soapbox, for lack of better words. You get on this soapbox that, oh man, this doesn't happen, and So have you ever noticed that when you kind of get on that soapbox, so to speak, and I'm not here to call anybody out or say that you're whining and moaning. It's just that we just kind of like we start tallying up our lives, and then we start comparing we compare ourselves to other people, and at the end of the day, that's their path. That's their path. That's their path to success, whatever it was. You just can't expect that their path has to be your path. Because I'm here to tell you that every single millionaire that's out there, and the self-made ones, and even the ones that inherited, it doesn't matter. They're whoever they got it from. Their parents or whatever. They've had to, have, their challenges, their obstacles. They had to deal with, in my case, shit. I had to. The year I thought I was gonna get it, nothing happened. I had to go back on deployments, and I had to do the Marine Corps, other Marine Corps stuff, not because I had, not because I wanted to. Sometimes we have to, but also, I had to sacrificing, leaving my wife at the time, leaving my kids, home, having to deal with the loss of my father and my grandfather too. My son having major surgery. A bunch of stuff, and you're like, Jesus, what else can be thrown at me? And I'm here to caution you too that when you put out vibe and things like that of why me, so to speak, or any of those shit, that's what you're gonna attract. Where focus goes, energy flows. And I've said this quite a bit on the show in the past. Is you ever been around somebody that's kind of like Debbie Downers, so to speak, and then you just kind of like, oh man, this person's vibing like that. I can't be near them or whatever. I'm not saying that positive people don't have bad days, because positive people do have bad days, but it's how you recover and how you get up, and then you just get back up. So when you're when you're out there, when you're grinding, when you're trying to be successful, and you're trying to make moves and make things happen, you got to stick to your path. One story that for those of you who haven't read the book by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, I highly recommend. And I should have just thrown, I recommend a lot of things over here. Maybe I should have that book link over here. But if you have not either bought the book to read it, or if you have not listened to it on Audible, I listen to books all the time. I highly recommend. There's a story of I think the guy's name is his last name is Barnes. So I'll and I'll kind of wrap up with this. Anyways, Barnes, he was this is during the late 1800s, early 1900s, and this guy bought a piece of land, and he was out there basically looking for gold, which he found a fault line of gold, and the dude is like, and he was killing it. He was mining all this gold out of it. So he went back home, got a lot, got investors, mainly his family and friends, to invest in this company, so that way they can buy mining equipment, and with the promises, obviously, of great returns, riches, and so on and so forth. So he got back, he had all this money, and then when he started keep mining that fault line of gold. Well, as it happens, about everything is, the fault line disappeared. Boom. They hit no gold. He was out there looking for, they kept mining and looking for the gold. mining, and look, nothing. I mean, just dirt. It was coming up with basically nothing. This went on for several months until he finally gave up. He quit. He said, well, he went back. So he went back to town, and where he was talking to the individual, because back in the day, you would go mine your gold, and you would go to a bar, or like a pawn shop, so to speak, to the store, to the dry goods store where you buy, the hardware store. And they used to, right there, you can have the gold weighed, and you can exchange your gold for monies. I know this firsthand, believe it or not. My grandfather used to do this as a kid growing up in Colombia. People would go mine gold down by the river. If you ever watch Gold Rush on National Geographic's, just like that, without the equipment, just by hand with a pan. I grew up watching that. It's really interesting. Anyways, so Barnes goes back, and he's at the store, and he's telling the guy the story, and like his, not sob story, but he just kind of like saying, this is what happened. And the guy's like, well, let me buy, tell you what, I'll buy all your equipment and that plot of land all for $500, which at the time, I mean, that's, quite a bit of money. Again, we're talking about 1800 time frame. So, I mean, that was quite a bit of money that this individual, paid for it. It basically didn't cover, it covered most of his losses. Obviously, there were investors and whatever. So, but the guy the guy at the hardware store didn't know anything about land and gold, but he did know that, hey, I'm not an expert. I'm going to find, I think it was a biologist or somebody who knows about land and stones and so on and so forth. So he outsourced that, and he hired somebody, I know, again, a third-party vendor. And the guy comes in and is like, oh, well, one thing about, these type of, soil and rocks and tectonic plates and blah, blah, is that things shift. They shift to the side. So the guy did the calculation. He goes, usually on average about 3 to 4 feet to the left or right. So he tells this guy, that the guy at the store who bought the plot of land from Mr. Barnes, he said, okay. And then guess what? They started digging 3 feet to one side, and they found the biggest, to this day, the biggest fault line of gold that has ever existed. So, I mean, that guy became, a millionaire, especially during those time frames. So what's the point of the story? Well, here's the kicker. Mr. Barnes, he actually became very wealthy and very rich later on. As a matter of fact, selling insurance, he found one of the biggest insurance companies, to the point where he was making $1 million a year selling life insurance, which $1 million in the 1800s, early 1900s, that is like stupid rich back in the day. So, however, he never forgot, his mistake or what happened back then. So even though he found success and everything, but he attains his success to that one mistake and failure with the gold mine. So what he always told himself is when he encountered a challenge, he's like, hey, I'm only 3 feet away from my goal. So you've heard me say this before. So what do I mean by that is that when you find yourself, and there are going to be times of challenge, and I'm saying this out loud right now, and I'm saying it to myself, is that, when those times are going to come, is that I got to keep telling myself is, hey, I'm only 3 feet away from my goal. So think about that for just a second. A lot of it, when was how long ago or when in your life did you ever find yourself that, screw it and throw your hands up and just kind of, walked away and went the other direction when you could have hit your target. Maybe you were one day out from hitting, from that one phone call, that one job, interview, or that one, one more. The power of one more is tremendous. Or you were, a day, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, couple of months, maybe a year, 2 years from, hitting that fault line, and all the riches that you were looking for, you got them. God has and I'm not trying to get religious on you folks, but I will say this, God and the universe works in a very mysterious way. The way I highly suggest that you start looking at things is that maybe all these challenges that life and and whatever else is being thrown at you, maybe that is there's a deeper purpose behind that, where they're challenging you before they reward you with the riches, and reward you with with whatever it is goal that you're or desires that you're seeking out. Does that make sense? So, because at the end of the day, all those challenges and all those things, don't you think that it will make it that much sweeter when you are, once you hit, your fault line of gold, and you find that pot of gold at the end, at the right there at the end of the rainbow? Don't you think that that success is going to, and those things are going to be that much better? It's going to, that piece of pie is going to taste that much sweeter. Think about that for a second. We gotta stick. You gotta grind. You gotta, because success, I'm telling you, folks, it's not that linear path that that a lot of us, that we get in our heads, and like, man, I should be there because I'm doing all the. There's no way. It ain't gonna happen, folks. Success comes with, you gotta give up something to gain other. You're gonna have to give up what? Time, effort, spending time with your loved ones, giving up your weekends while everybody is grinding, while everybody else is partying, going out drinking, and doing all, which there's nothing wrong with that, but you're gonna have to pay a toll and give up something in order to get there. I mean, look at me. I mean, I'm building a business from the ground up, and these last 2 years, I mean, I've been really working hard at it and putting time and effort into it, and I'm starting to see the benefits. And so, but I'm not done, folks. I'm giving up. I love riding my motorcycle. I mean, I would love to go hit the road this weekend and ride down to Key West, have me a piece of key lime pie, all that good stuff. But I can't. I can, but I won't, because I'm still at it. I gotta go get it. I gotta do the due and pay the price. I gotta pay that man the toll charge, so that way when I strike gold and I hit that fault line, man, that motorcycle ride is gonna be that much better. That piece of pie that I'm, where when I get down to Key West, is gonna taste that much sweeter. When we're drinking pina coladas, virgin pina coladas, in Greece, Santorini, chilling, and eating, goat cheese and all that good stuff, enjoying it, it's gonna taste that much better. When I'm riding, I'm not a boat guy, but yeah, I like going out with friends who have boats, but when we're chilling on that boat, it's gonna be that's a shout out to you, Dave, by the way, because I know you got a boat and I know you love that thing. But I'm telling you, when you're doing those things because you sacrifice and you grind, in the last couple of years, man, don't you think that it would be that much better? Aren't you worth it? Aren't you worth, spending and just giving up, just sacrificing a couple of things instead of waiting for immediate gratification like a lot of us tend to do? I think you are. I think I am. For sure, I know I am. So if you're out there trying to get it and you're grinding hard, stay hard. Don't give up. Keep grinding, keep digging, keep chiseling away, keep tunneling away, and maybe shift a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, maybe 3 feet, because you just might be, that much closer to hitting that fault line. And don't be afraid to kind of just, reevaluate the plan and then get back at it. Okay. You are going to have bad days. You're going to have, a lot of great days, but that's okay. That's what, that's what builds resilience. And that's what makes us hardcore. So, with that being said, everybody, I think this is a good place to index the show. If you've been ruminating and just kind of, going into that rabbit hole and, getting depressed and all the other things, because a lot of us deal with our own monsters, and you feel that monster coming back, then reach out to me. And I mean this 100%, guys and gals. Reach out to our show. Reach out to Warrior Built there in Temecula, or the PTSD Foundation in Texas. There's plenty of organizations out there that will help you get out of there, because as cliche as it may sound, shitty times do pass. You just the hard part is getting through that that time period, but you're gonna be okay. And if you haven't heard from a buddy in a while, do a buddy check this weekend. Just do a little, hey man, I'm just doing a little bit of checkup. pass it on, and then boom, move forward to the next phone call. So with that being said, everybody, hey, thanks so much for tuning in. I really appreciate your support. Let's keep growing this show, and then I'll see you next week. And if you want to be on part of the show, hit me up. I would love to talk about what is it that you're doing. All right. So with that being said, everybody, we're gonna end the extra over here. Aistumas, Daisuki, Hoorah, get some. See you next week. Peace. Take care now.